Welcome to God Chosen Cosmic Melodies. We are back for another good one. So, we're gonna continue from the previous video. We are talking about being our higher selves by mastering, calming our emotions through whatever comes up in life. And the more we do that for our inner world, we have more spiritual growth, which improves every other area of our inner world, and then our external world and how we experience ourselves and each other. So I said in the previous video, when I was reading the part of the violence of creation, I mentioned that it's like coming back to the pure love that we are. But then I thought deeper into it, and I thought actually it's painful. The violence of creation can be a really painful thing. If you think about a mother producing a baby and going through the stages and phases of the expansion of that baby developing, and then when the expansion happens to such a point, it needs to be alleviated because the pressure, so much pressure, because the baby is gotten to the point of development that the baby is then ready to be birthed. And there's a violence in that creation, and so there's a irony, there's a paradox to it, as we know, to everything in life. And I was thinking deeper into this, and so it's love and pain. When you're a child, or when a mother's having a child and you think of a baby, is a pure happiness and pure joy and a new life born into the world that has nothing of life's traumas yet. But I mean, if you think about previous lifetime traumas, technically we do come in with trauma in our DNA that is meant to be healed in this lifetime, any lifetime, every lifetime, whatever lifetime it is. There's healing that is meant to be had, and this is what we all have in common. And I'm talking about on a DNA level. So this is really deep, deep, deep. This is not just surface level healing. This is unlocking and accessing greater abilities through this healing in the DNA on a DNA level, which is a lifelong journey. We're already whole in the soul, but it happens to be that this life, we make mistakes were made before our lifetime, and it's a evolving process to heal those past things, and it's a lifelong, and it's an eternal long, in fact it's eternal. And so this is the thing, it's like it's something that we can just recognize in our day-to-day, that with creation, sometimes changes can seem violent, like the beginning of time. The violence of creation is the whole reason why we get to experience the beauty of this life, though, which is the irony. But I feel like God is restructuring wave patterns in the quantum field and in all of existence. The energy throughout all of existence is being restructured it's not from humans, it's from a higher power, and it is universal, cosmic. And so bringing all that higher realms of awareness and understanding and anchoring it down into this realm and digesting it and understanding it and applying that understanding into this lifetime in this physical form. The violence of creation means, like anything that we create, sometimes it consists of tearing down the old, or rebirthing, or birthing, death and rebirth cycles. It's like that, internally and externally. When people experience depression or pain, and you have breakthroughs, you have breakdowns and breakthroughs, and the destruction of the old to bring in the new, the violence of creation. So it's a big paradox, and that's why it's so important to constantly implement these inner tools to better master ourselves throughout those paradoxes and oxymorons and contradictions that we experience throughout the polarity in this life. So when we go through the violence of creation, whatever is being created for bad and for good, because the violence of creation is what our creator did to create reality. What people would call the Big Bang. It's like that was a violent thing, right? It was just like an explosion. It's violent. But what came out of it? Something really beautiful. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need violence just to experience beauty. Do not misinterpret what I'm saying. Seriously. I'm saying very straightforward that throughout the polarity of the beauty in life, we can change the wave patterns of energy the more that we master ourselves. And we get to the bottom of that pain that came from birth, that birth emotion. So I feel like yesterday I understood this differently than I understand it today. I understand it much deeper today. The more that I thought of it and I asked God for more guidance and stuff to better understand this, because this is huge. This is something that we all have in common. Hello, we're all birthed into this world, and we have this birth emotion in common. It's a severe amount of pain when you're born and a baby's. You don't remember when you were born, but when you hear of other people's babies being born, when a baby comes out, a baby cries. You don't remember that vividly in your head because you're too small to remember, but we all have this in common. We experience pain. That's why we cry. It's painful to come out of the canal. You squeeze through it. Think about it. So the baby expanded, the baby developed, and the stages and phases brought pain to the mom, but it's a beautiful thing of life being created throughout that pain and healing journey. And then you get to a point of expansion, and then you have to contract, and when the contractions come and pushes out the baby, and the baby then is able to expand more. And so expansion and contraction throughout the whole life journey, if you think about it metaphorically, internally on a spiritual level, this is what's happening. Sometimes our soul expands with awareness, and our light body, our physical vessel, needs to be recalibrated. It contracts. Sometimes people resist the awakening process. It contracts and then it expands again. And if we can go with the rhythm to this, and in oneness with this organic natural process that happens to our soul in our physical journey, we will have a more smoother awakening for the younger generations, because we better understand what's happening with them through this deeper understanding and awareness, because we better understand ourselves. When we better understand ourselves, we better understand the younger generation and each other just in general. And so we can better assist each other throughout the awakening process of the changes of energy. So this birth emotion, this is really important. God pointed me to this because when the world one by one, each person is the key to their own healing. And when one by one heals the pain of birth, the birth emotion through energy work and spiritual growth. And this is just a day-to-day process. This is it's not about becoming a guru or a spiritual leader or even considering yourself spiritual. This is just about implementing simple things and making simple inner shifts. It's in the simplicities that we can all do, like our changes of thinking and viewing things and feeling about things. Those things we apply in our inner world. And those incremental shifts culminate to each one of us experiencing a better version of reality on a higher timeline frequency, because our foundations are healed and rebuilt from the bottom up. So this birth emotion is a part of healing the foundation of our inner world. And so even if you're not a mother, even if you're a guy, this applies to guys too, because every baby experienced the pain of coming out of the birth canal. And then on top of that, mothers, okay, a mother is a baby too. A mother was a baby once upon a time that then had their own baby. And the cycle of the birth pain went on. And it's not our fault. It's a part of evolution. It's a part of this life experience. It's something that is unavoidable. And so this is why it's in our best interest to master it, to master this foundational part of ourselves. And because most people are unaware that they're walking around with this energetic wound from childbirth, because it's nobody's fault that we have that energetic wound. It's just a birth emotion that happened when we felt the pain of coming out of our mom. So this is really important to people developing their psychological state and developing their spiritual growth and developing in their spiritual healing journey. It all starts from the bottom up, our foundations. It's really important. So this is what God pointed me to, not for nothing. So there are many, I'm going to keep reading kind of from where I left off yesterday. So we left off talking about the birth emotion and several satellite emotions. There are many currents of energy going through you in the form of emotions. One is your birth emotion. That's the one, when, again, we didn't have control over, but we all have this in common. It is a deep feeling that you have carried throughout your life. Although every cell and atom in your body is different from when you were born, unless you have undergone a major spiritual transformation. This is what I mean is, I feel like I misunderstood this yesterday, but I didn't. I just came to a deeper understanding of it now. And so we need to undergo a major spiritual transformation on an energetic level in order for us to heal the birth emotion that we carry in our core feeling. with us throughout our lifetime, because most of us are unaware that this is even a thing. So some of you choose optimism, happiness, or complacency as a main feeling tone. Others choose an underlying feeling of pessimism, resentment, and disappointments. And this is also because of what we experienced with our caregivers, of people who helped raise us and steward us to be good human beings in the world, taught us and raised us or cared for us. Those, depending on who was around us as we were growing, that also affects, what is a person's baseline feelings. Some have an easygoing nature, others feel a quiet melancholy, loneliness, or unhappiness. Some people choose to love as their main feeling tone, which is, I say, is me most of the time. But it's not because it was always easy. It's just because that's how I choose to be. Another factor is, what are the placements in your astrology chart? The placements of the planetary bodies when you were conceived also affects your energies. So what's going on in your energy chart, your astrology chart, who were the people you were around when you were raised, and the pain of our birth emotion. All of those things combined make up like our baseline emotion, the emotion that we tend to be most of the time. So some people choose to love, others choose to be serious or fun-loving. Some choose smug superiority. Others choose to feel unworthy and inferior. This another factor is the unhealed wounds. When we have unhealed wounds, most times people, even if they're a fun-loving person, they would want to be a fun-loving person, but sometimes people fall into feeling unworthy or inferior because of unhealed wounds. Or maybe there's having a transit in their chart, or there's changes, energetic changes happening in their life journey that they're unaware about the energy side of life, the spiritual side of life. So they're succumbing to those low emotions and scenarios and situations, and or the smug superiority complex. Those are also unhealed wounds in the deeper parts of that person. So however we want to look at it, the more that we heal, the more likely we will experience the higher vibrational versions of ourselves. So think for a moment about your most prominent feeling. So this is connected to how we experienced our parents. If our parents were MIA, if our parents let us down in any kind of way. Are you normally happy, easygoing, or optimistic? Are you tense, worried, or unhappy a lot? If you don't recognize your most noticeable feeling tone right away, simply be aware that you have one and ask to know more about it. Ask your higher self, ask source energy, why is it that you tend to feel a certain way all the time? This is connected to past wounds. If you don't recognize your most noticeable feeling tone, again, just bring awareness to that, and you may sense it as an inner note rather than a distinct feeling. Besides a prominent feeling tone, you have 5 to 7 satellite emotions that make up your primal emotional identity in this lifetime. So besides that baseline feeling, that distinct feeling that you are like a reoccurring feeling that you constantly feel, there's the 7 satellite emotions that make up your emotional identity. What emotions do you feel most often? Ask yourself that. Your higher self chose these particular emotions to lead you into certain experiences you would not have without those emotions. Your emotions are the lenses through which you look out at the world. When you are happy, you see the world differently than when you are angry most of the time, or sad, or frustrated, or short-tempered, or whatever it is. It changes the way you see the world and people, and even experience your inner self. It's important to shine your light on these shadow parts of yourself. So you choose these emotions because they gave you the perspective that would provide the most growth for you. Sorry, I need to rewind. I skipped a part. Experiencing each emotion is like putting on a new pair of glasses. Every emotion is a new pair of glasses. Every feeling shows you a different way of looking at the world. Imagine you're wearing blue glasses, green glasses, red glasses. Sometimes when you look out of certain glasses, the world looks more dull. The world looks more dark. So change your feeling. The feelings are different pairs of glasses, different lenses in which you see the world. You choose these emotions because they gave you the perspective that would provide the most growth for you. You chose the range of intensity of your emotions. Whether you realize it, whether we realize it or not, we don't realize that we have so much power that we literally sometimes make life situations and scenarios more intense and stressful than they have to be. We choose the range of intensity, and we need to remember that. Some of you have chosen a very broad range from immense pain to great joy. Some of you have chosen narrow ranges, preferring to work with subtle levels, such as moderate joy to moderate unhappiness, because you live in a polarity. For each positive emotion you will also have its opposite. Emotional calm comes from finding the balance point bringing all your emotions into harmony with your higher self. So this means that you're not constantly going like a pendulum from this side to this side, and you find balance because you're living from your soul self. You're living from the soul presence. When you're present with the fact that you are a soul in a human experience, with the fact that you are a soul, you're not your emotions, you are the soul presence, you are the master of your emotions. When you sit in that driver's seat, you are no longer swinging from this emotion to that emotion, unhappiness to happiness, to joy or no joy. No, instead, whatever emotion comes up, you are sitting in the driver's seat of your higher self and acknowledging those emotions, but you maintain a balanced point. You have a lot of daily emotions, and most of them are fleeting. This is why it's important to not hold on to emotions. If you think back to the feeling you have had today, you might recognize at least 2 or 3 different ones. Emotions are like a moving force field. You can experience them and then let them flow right through you sooner than later. It is important not to identify with them or hang on to them longer than necessary to gain their gifts. Because as I said, if we so choose, we can see our negative emotions as an opportunity to look deeper into ourselves. It is a gift to see what are the things that we can evolve, why those reoccurring emotions come up, what is it from our childhood that we keep repeating in our adult years. What emotion that kept coming up in our childhood? If a child was constantly getting frustrated or mad throughout the years and nobody taught that child how to process their emotions, they do it as an adult throughout their life. They will constantly be getting frustrated for any little thing, and they don't know how to process their emotions, and they cause themselves inner turmoil that we do not need to be experiencing. Okay, this is literally an inner working thing that we all need to put the light of awareness and consciousness onto ourselves to improve our inner environment, our inner emotional environment. And it's less likely that we will develop diseases as we go through the life journey, because as we know, what we think and feel most of the time creates balance or imbalance in our energy systems and in our whole entire system, our whole entire body. It creates disease or it creates better health. Our thoughts and our emotions have that much power, and we need to remember that we're so powerful, so we don't misuse our power in creating a diseased environment within our inner world, which is a lot of what we see a lot of. I mean, there's other factors in the way people eat and the way people's lifestyles are, but the core of it that we all have in common is the way we choose to think and feel. People who are more happy and peaceful at their baseline, whatever situation comes up in their baseline, and is joy, peace, solution orientated mindset, and you maintain balance even through whatever situations come up or whatever stress comes up, you master having inner balance. That person is going to have a healthier inner environment than a person who's not doing that for themselves. These are the facts. It doesn't matter whose opinion, doesn't matter. The facts stand on their own, and we know this. So it's important for us to constantly remind ourselves and each other this, because literally these inner solutions improve our life from 1 second to the next. We get to experience heaven on earth inside of us, no matter what disturbance. Okay, no matter what, and like it's a part of life. Things, whatever comes up, it's an opportunity for us to embody our higher selves and embody the spiritual growth that we have been developing over time. So you choose these emotions because they gave you the perspective that would provide the most growth for you. You have a lot of daily emotions. Okay, wait, sorry. I have to find where I left off. So it's important to not identify with those emotions and let them go. Once you learn what you need to learn from the emotion, let it go and keep flowing with your higher self. Some of you feel more alive when you have strong, turbulent emotions. You may worry that calming your emotions will make you feel less alive. For instance, if things are too peaceful with your mate, you may think that your relationship has lost some of its passion and aliveness. You may be confusing intensity with love. Some people think that unless there is a lot of emotional drama in a relationship, the other person doesn't care for them. That's because of unhealed wounds, or just simply a misconception. Some people think that unless there's a lot of emotional drama, oh, sorry, I read that. They love high intense feelings and create dramas in order to feel them. What images and thoughts come up for you as you think of being calm at the time? Some of you learn to value harmonious emotions by first experiencing turbulent ones. So this is like the polarity of life. This is why it's important to not judge what stage and phase another person is in their journey, because sometimes people are first going through experiencing the turbulent ones to know better that they don't want those turbulent emotions, and that what's better for them is the harmonious emotions. Every child that grew up into an adult throughout the stages and phases has this in common. All of us, everywhere around the world. You may be angry or cry for hours, feeling hurt, betrayed, or rejected. You will come to a point where strong negative emotions are intolerable and you want peace above all else. With that strong desire, you will begin to make the changes that will bring calm into your life. This is why sometimes people get to the point where it's just like the inner environment is just so toxic that it forces a person to change, because it's literally unbearable to even live with a person's own self with their inner environment. That's why some people, when it comes to them getting diseases like cancer or whatever, it forces them to really take a hard look at themselves and forces them to stop themselves from stressing out, from getting angry, and falling into that addiction of the chemical release in the brain, because people get addicted to stress and anger, as we know. This is scientifically proven. And so when that toxic environment gets to such a bad place, it's intense emotions, and it creates drama in order for the person to get to the point that they don't want to live like that anymore. They don't want to be like that anymore. They don't want to hurt themselves like that anymore. And so they start to make those inner changes. It shouldn't get to that point for us to realize the importance of just making those inner changes just because we choose, not because we're forced to because of a situation. So we just heal the hurt from our inner childhood wounds, the betrayal, the rejection, the negative feelings that people projected onto us and we projected it out onto other people, that whole vicious cycle. You will begin to make the changes that will bring calm into your life, because you heal those inner wounds that cause you to be in those shadow ways. Are you ready to let go of the drama? If you say to yourself, I choose peace, say it to yourself and choose it when it comes down to the very moment that you need to choose it the most. Love people for who they are, not for who you want them to be. And we need to uphold a standard for ourselves and for each other. If your turbulent emotions are coming from upsets in your relationships, look closely. Are you accepting other people for who they are? Are you withholding your love until they become who you want them to be? You always win by supporting other people and being who they are rather than who you want them to be. This is why it's important to know what unconditional love really is. Like, accept each other for our flaws and our evolving selves, because nobody's perfect and we're always changing and evolving. Even if we're not doing it intentionally, this is just a natural part of life on a molecular level in every cell in our body. It's evolving itself. You always win by supporting other people and being who they are rather than who you want them to be. Usually when you release your attachment to wanting people to be a certain way, they become more cooperative and loving, because we just get to appreciate each other for the differences that we are, because we'll always be different. Why would we ever want to all be identical? That would be boring. It's important for us to be different in every which way possible, because that's the beauty of life and that's how we evolve, through our differences. So your most intimate relationships involve your greatest expectations and present your greatest challenges to being calm and centered. So also with accepting each other for who we are, it is also important to inspire each other and have better expectations for each other, inspire each other for each other's growth, internally and externally. And I find a lot of the time, sometimes females are better at helping men evolve themselves more internally, and then men do it more externally, because I feel like the spiritual aspect of the female is why she's more better at the internal parts, and then the guy in the material world is why he's naturally tends to be better in the external parts. But it applies to both, because we all have masculine and feminine in each of us. And so yeah, I'm going to keep reading. So your most intimate relationships involve your greatest expectations and present your greatest challenges to being calm and centered. So in relationships, that is literally the main relationships, your intimate relationships. Those main relationships are the main I feel like fertile ground for overcoming challenges. If your loved ones are upsetting you, ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? What pattern within me are they triggering? What pattern of emotion that keeps coming up, that emotion that they're triggering inside of you, that pattern of emotion, and it's specific for each individual, Ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Why do I constantly feel this way about this person in this situation? Is it because somebody projected this onto me when ever since I was younger, and I just repeated it over and over again in my adult years? Does this situation remind me of something hurtful from the past? What am I learning from this turmoil of emotion that keeps coming up, that I keep getting triggered by, a person, a situation, that emotion that keeps coming up? If you feel disappointed with the way people are behaving or treating you, rather than assuming that you have done nothing to cause their behavior, ask, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Am I making them defensive? Is that why they have an undertone of their energy? Am I demanding that they act in a certain way to please me? Is that why they're in that energy? Am I making what they do in any way wrong? Sorry, I lost my place. Am I making what they do wrong in any way? Am I accepting and loving them for who they are? The more we ask ourselves these questions, anytime we get triggered by how another person is being, we will get more intimate with ourselves and each other, because we will get past these emotions that are blocking us from having a more intimate relationship with ourselves and each other. So ask yourself these questions. Knowing how your words and behaviors affect others make it easier to create the reality you want with them and amongst each other. Once you feel hurt, many of you become protective and closed, wanting to be certain you are not going to be hurt again. From now on, whenever people are doing something that upsets or hurts you, see it as an opportunity to learn to love them rather than protect yourself and close down and shut down and isolate and, close up and be introvert. Instead of doing that, send love to your feelings of hurt every time, on the spot, every single time those feelings come up. Realize that others' behaviors that hurt you are coming from their fear of being hurt themselves, not from their intent to harm you. One man was constantly upset over his relationship with his wife because he felt she neglected him. He had many specific things that he thought she would do to improve she loved him. He had many specific things she should do to prove that she loved him, such as being home every night, watching television with him, and staying home with him with the children rather than working. She truly loved him and tried her best to please him, but she also wanted a career and wanted to go out occasionally. She became increasingly silent and withdrew as he grew more angry. One day, in a moment of inspiration, he decided that he was contributing to the turbulence and began to think about how he could change. He asked himself why her behavior upset him so much and why he felt abandoned when she went out. He asked his father had felt abandoned by his mother. He realized, I thought it said asked. He realized his father had felt abandoned by his mother. So this goes even deeper than his childhood. This goes down to his father. This is why it's in the DNA. Why I said in the beginning of the video, it's a DNA thing. It's from generation. This repeated pattern of emotion that is a baseline emotion that comes up throughout a person's lifetime is literally because things that need to be healed in our DNA. So it doesn't keep repeating itself over and over again through the younger generations. So he had taken his father's feelings of abandonment as his own and was trying to prevent the same circumstances from occurring in his life. Yet his effort to protect himself was creating more distance between his wife and himself, the very thing he didn't want to happen. As he stopped making her wrong and became more loving and accepting, he realized that she was very loyal and was not going to abandon him. Their relationship became calmer and more loving as he let go of needing her to stay around constantly and trusted that everything she did was honoring both of them. You can choose peace no matter how others are acting, because a lot of the times the way they're acting and it triggers your emotion has nothing to do with them. It has more to do with what's happening inside of you because of that inner stuff from your childhood. And you won't know until you ask yourself those questions. This is the irony. It's like you're never going to figure those things out about yourself unless you ask these questions and you do this inner work. Inner work is basically simply doing self-therapy on yourself, asking your higher self, asking God these questions, and you'll get the response. And then you literally develop yourself more and more over time. And this is how you can master having that inner balance and sitting in the driver's seat of your soul, not just living from the physical. And so you're not, overtaken by human emotions. Waiting for others to act in certain ways to be happy is making your happiness dependent upon something outside of yourself. Okay, sorry, I have to rewind. When you have unhappy emotions, don't think about another person causing them. If you are angry, stop blaming another person for making you angry. Instead, work directly with your feeling of anger. Hold yourself accountable, because that is nobody else's responsibility but our own. Learning about why you are feeling angry will do more to take you higher than trying to figure out how to get another person to change. So this is the old paradigm. People try to get other people to change and have a hard time with each other and don't accept each other for who they are, because we're not here to try to change each other. We need to accept each other for who we are, while simultaneously doing the inner work on ourselves, so we get to experience a better version of ourselves for ourselves and for each other. So this is the new paradigm way of thinking, feeling, and being, is that we choose to look at our anger and sit with ourselves. We learn about why we are feeling angry. We do more for ourselves doing that than trying to change somebody else. We learn about why we are feeling angry to take ourselves higher, to a higher state of frequency, to a higher state of being on a consistent level. So whatever a person's trying to fight with you, get you stressed out and get you angry, you're unaffected, because you're the master. You know that. You are an ascended master in the physical form. And the more that we embody this, the better off we will be for our inner environment, our inner world, and each other. And we will have more memories and experiences around each other, because each individual is doing this for themselves. And we will have a more closer family units, and we'll have more closer relationships with ourselves and each other in communities, on bigger levels. But we got to start from small first. The relationship with yourself, the relationship with God source energy, the relationship with your family members, the relationship with your friends. First it starts from the core. And we got to get to the bottom of these things within ourselves to better understand ourselves, to better understand each other. And this is literally how we help make the world a better place. We are the change we've been waiting for. You are the hero you're waiting for. We are the ones to heal ourselves. We are the cure. We are the antidote. We are the solution at all times when we apply these things in our inner world. So the outer world wants to give you reasons, try to give you reasons to be upset and stressed. Forget about it. You don't pay attention to the stress. You focus on how you can develop yourself in embodying your spiritual growth through whatever comes up in the physical realm. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Literally, it doesn't matter what comes up, what situation, what emotion. You choose to embody your spiritual growth more and more and more through anything and everything, then we will literally experience heaven on earth more percentage of our lives, because we're sitting in the driver's seat of our higher heart, our soul presence, our soul awareness, our soul embodiment. We are living from our higher selves more times than not throughout our lifetime and around each other, because then honestly, again, we'll have better memories and we'll have a better quality of our inner environment, no matter what may be coming up in life and changes and everything, because it's inevitable. We're going to experience the polarity of life and growth. It's supposed to be beautiful. It depends on our perspective though. So choose to have the perspective of using every emotion, low vibrational emotion, to evolve yourself, to better understand yourself, to find a deeper, solid stance of inner balance. All right. So again, recap. If anger comes up, you don't blame people. You don't blame situations. You hold yourself accountable and you learn about why you are feeling angry. Why? Keep asking yourself why. Because when you get to the bottom of that why, you're not going to keep repeating that same baseline emotion. When you get to the bottom of that baseline emotion, you're going to reprogram your whole inner energy system. So your baseline of emotion is balanced, peace, solution orientated, strong, solid, balanced, solution orientated stance for anything and everything in life. You're no longer overtaken by anger because of what somebody else is doing, how somebody else is chewing, how somebody else is talking, how somebody else is doing whatever they're doing. You don't get caught up in those human emotions, bothered by anyone else, because you're taking accountability for your emotions, your inner environment. And again, you use any negative emotion to ask yourself why those feelings are coming up. Let those feelings go. Once you have the gift of awareness of what that emotion was trying to teach you, you let it go. And the more often you do that, it just becomes your first language. It is organic. It becomes like high speed, faster than ChatGPT. It's literally like light speed, God speed, where you you see a situation and or an emotion pops up, and you just like you do it faster and faster every time you do it. You break it down faster. You get to the baseline of that emotion. Why is that emotion coming up? You no longer waste your time being mad at people and situations, because you do that inner alchemy of mastering yourself. And you no longer will project anger to other people. You won't project low vibrational attitudes or ways of being, thinking, and feeling about other people. When people got a really bad attitude about the way they think and feel about others, it's only sabotaging ourselves when we let our emotions control our lives. We need to not do that. We know better. We're the masters. So your emotions should not be controlling the way that you think and feel about another person. You should be looking inside. Your emotions are symbolic and a opportunity for you to look inside, to master yourself, to create heaven on earth inside of you the way that you deserve. If someone's bothering you, it's not them, it's you. Ask yourself why you're even allowing yourself to stay stuck in any kind of those emotions, whatever it could be. We all have this in common, and it's just a matter of putting these things into practice. Anytime, a situation or emotion comes up that is unpleasant to experience, we just do the inner work. Again, like I said, this is literally the solution time and time again to shift our inner world so that we can experience heaven on earth for ourselves, in ourselves, and then for each other. Because I swear to God, I know all of us deserve this on the face of the planet, but we won't get it unless we give it to ourselves. Because even if other people are kind to us, and we like to be around other people because they're good energy, they're kind. That's why people like to be around me, because I'm good energy and I'm kind. But that's the thing. You need to do this inner work, so you don't want to try to energy vampire from other people. You don't need to feel the need to want to be around somebody else with good energy, because you are doing your inner work to have that same good energy. You can't be codependent on other people's good energy because they do their inner work. You also have to do your inner work in order for you to sustain your own good energy internally, to the point where anything external is not, dictating and controlling your life. Your emotions are not controlling your life, because again, you go through the process of mastering yourself, and you don't point fingers and say, oh, this person's making me mad. No, you figure out what about that person, that situation is making you mad. Put the boundaries up that you need to put up, or change the situation however you need to change it in the most mature way possible. Maturity is everything. And you know what? The whole point of this video is about spiritual growth, which means maturity. Spiritual maturity equals emotional, mental, physical maturity too, because as we know, everything is connected, guys. And so develop your inner child by getting to the bottom of your feelings of anger and, those low vibrations, those low vibrational feelings. You get the point. I kind of repeated this in so many different ways. I have a tendency to do that, but I'm going to stop now because I feel like I explained it deep enough, and I went really hard in on this one, and I feel good about it. I look and speak about things in so many different angles, because everybody's going to understand it in their own way. And I really like to sometimes beat this subject down so that when I drill it into the brain, it goes so deep, it goes down to the heart, and then from deeper we take it higher to the higher heart. So basically we're anchoring down higher vibrational awareness down into the vessel to better embody it, and when we better embody it, we rise up in frequency in our inner experience that we get to experience, because as we know, everything is an internal thing. So yeah, point made. Tune in, people. Tune into the rest of my videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed this. Share the video with anyone you think that it would be helpful to. And ring the bell for any new videos that I may be posting, because I will be posting more often than not, because I feel guided to recently. This subject I'm really passionate about. My next video, stay tuned, because we're going to go deeper on this. We haven't got to the satellite emotions. We covered the birth emotion and healing that birth emotion, and those negative emotions by asking yourself why, holding yourself accountable. We got to that. Next thing is to the satellite emotions. So and then it goes further and further, guys. It's a lifelong journey. So if you want to come on this journey with me, subscribe if you haven't already, and I send you much love. Remember to pray, because our prayers have power. From internally, we pray, our voice goes out into the quantum field, and our prayer changes our inner world, our lives, our energy field. It changes each other's lives. It protects our energy field. It protects ourselves, protects things in our life, our pets, possessions, goals. Our prayers are immense, and the power of prayer is extremely underestimated, and we need to not underestimate our power of prayer. We need to pray more often. We need to put more energy into our prayer life, because it really does make a difference, even to help the world's circumstances and even world events, as we know, as I talk about in my previous videos. So please, you do make a difference. Your prayers really do, even if it's just a small prayer, even if it's a loving thought with God, your connection to source, your loving connection to source. You have those thoughts in your mind, you feel that feeling in your heart. It makes a difference in the quantum field. It is literally that simple. When you have thoughts of prayer, when you have feelings of prayer, when you have feelings of love, when you have thoughts of love, you know, it goes back and forth, feelings and thoughts, good feelings and thoughts, good feelings and thoughts. This literally creates ripples out into the field. We know this, science proves it. This is not just bright thinking, positive thinking. It's not just positive thinking, people. We know there's facts that back this up. So tune into your power and your connection to be a co-creator with our creator, and send out that good energy just by having loving thoughts and loving feelings, and do your inner prayers and tune into God and feel God's love and feel God's joy at every second of every day as much as possible. That's the gift that we can give ourselves every single day of our lives. You know, whatever is happening, whatever we have to overcome, whatever stage and phase of growth that we are in, we can always gift ourselves tuning into God's love, joy, and guidance and protection. Tune into that gift, embrace that gift, love on that gift. God is a gift, and God gives us the gift of presence. Tune into that oneness of God. We are not separate from this oneness of God's presence. God is present with us at all times. Tune into your soul family. Tune into God's source energy in your mind, body, and soul. Anchor God's love and light. Invoke God's love and light into your vessel. And I will talk to you all in the next video.